She asked for room for her ex at our wedding, so I disappeared, letting go of everything and never returned. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, the day I'd spent months planning, imagining, dreaming about. It was our wedding, the moment I would marry the woman I loved more than anything in the world. My heart was pounding with excitement as I walked down the aisle, my suit freshly pressed, the air filled with the soft scent of roses, and the bright sun streaming through the church windows. I could see her standing at the altar, looking absolutely breathtaking in her wedding dress. Emma was everything I had ever wanted, intelligent, caring, and the most beautiful woman I had ever laid eyes on. She was my soulmate, and today we were about to start the next chapter of our lives together. The ceremony was moving along perfectly. Our friends and family filled the pews, their smiles wide and their eyes filled with joy. I could hear the soft murmur of voices, the rustling of dresses and suits, and the gentle strains of music that seemed to lift us both into another world. Everything was perfect, until it wasn't. As I took my place next to her, my heart still racing with love and excitement, Emma leaned in close. I felt her breath on my cheek, and I couldn't help but smile. But then she said something that stopped me cold. "I need you to do something for me," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of the music. "What is it?" I asked, my voice full of curiosity. "I need you to save a seat for Adam," she said, her words heavy and serious. I froze. I thought I had misheard her, but the panic in her voice told me I hadn't. Adam, her ex, the man she had been with before me, the one who had left her heartbroken, the one she had once shared everything with before we had found each other. The thought of him still lingering in her life, even after all this time, made my blood run cold. "Wait, what?" I whispered, trying to steady my breath. "You want me to save a seat for Adam? Here? At our wedding?" Emma's face softened as she looked at me, her eyes filled with a mix of apology and guilt. "I know this is a lot to ask, but he's going through a rough time right now. He's been there for me through a lot of hard moments in my life, and I just feel like he should be here. He's part of my past, and I want him to be a part of this day too." My heart was racing, but not for the reasons it should have been. Instead of joy, I was filled with a deep, gnawing unease. My hands started to sweat as I took in what she was asking me. I knew about Adam. I knew their history together, their heartbreaks, their shared memories. I had never felt threatened by him before, but the idea of him sitting there, a part of the most important day of our lives, didn't sit well with me. "Emma," I said, my voice shaky with emotion, "this is our wedding day. You're asking me to make space for someone who is not part of our future anymore. Why would you want him here?" She seemed to sense the tension rising in me and quickly added, "It's not like that. I just need to be fair. I don't want to hurt his feelings, and I don't want him to feel like he's been erased from my life. We've been through a lot together, but I'm your future now," I responded, my voice louder than I intended. "We're getting married today. This is about us, not him. I don't understand why you need him here. You're asking me to share this moment with someone who's no longer a part of your life." Emma took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she reached for mine. "I don't want to hurt you, I swear. I love you, and I'm here, marrying you. But Adam is someone who played a role in my life. He was there for me when I was falling apart. I need to acknowledge that. Please, just let me have this. It won't change anything." I stared at her, searching her eyes for some sign of what she was asking me. The love I had for her, the trust we had built over the years, felt suddenly fragile. I had never doubted her loyalty before, but now it was like a dam had broken inside me and I couldn't put the pieces back together. The weight of the moment hit me like a ton of bricks. My chest tightened, my throat closed up. I tried to push the thoughts aside, but I couldn't stop them. The idea of Adam sitting in the front row, smiling at her, watching as I took her hand in marriage, it felt like a betrayal I wasn't sure I could live with. "I can't do this," I whispered, almost to myself. "I can't let him be here." Emma's face faltered for a moment, and I could see the hurt in her eyes. "Please, don't make this harder than it has to be," she said, pleading. "It's just one seat, one moment. After today, he'll be gone. We'll be married and he'll be part of the past." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. "I don't care about the seat, Emma," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I care about him being here. I care about you still feeling like you owe him something. I care about the fact that you want him to be part of our day. This is our wedding, Emma. This is my day too, and you're asking me to share it with him." The room felt like it was closing in on me. The music, the people, everything seemed so far away. I was standing at the altar, but I wasn't sure who I was standing with anymore. The woman I thought I knew and loved, or someone who still had a piece of her heart reserved for someone else. "I can't do this," I said again, my voice cracking as I stepped back. Emma reached out, but I took another step back. The last thing I wanted to do was hurt her, but the truth was, I didn't know how to move forward from this. I didn't know how to stand beside her when I felt like I was standing in the shadow of someone who had already claimed a piece of her past. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, before I turned and walked away. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to leave. My feet moved mechanically, carrying me away from the church and the people who had come to witness the most important moment of my life. I could still hear the soft murmur of voices in the distance, the sound of my name being called, but I kept walking. I had to get away. The world felt distorted, like I was walking through a dream, or maybe a nightmare. The words Emma had whispered to me on that altar echoed in my mind. "He's part of my past, and I want him to be a part of this day too." No matter how many times I tried to push them away, they kept coming back, like a record stuck on a loop. Why? Why did she need him there? And why did she think it was something I could just accept? I reached my car and fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking. The moment I opened the door, I slid into the driver's seat, slammed it shut, and let out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. I couldn't go back. Not like this. I couldn't pretend that everything was fine when, in that very moment, my entire world felt like it had been ripped apart. I tried to call Emma. My phone vibrated in my hand, the screen lighting up with her name, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. What could I possibly say to her? "I love you, but I can't handle you inviting your ex to our wedding?" It felt so small, so petty in comparison to everything we had been through together. But that's what it was. I felt small. I felt like the man who had been left out of the picture, unimportant in her eyes. Adam, her ex, still held a piece of her, even if she didn't admit it. And that thought gnawed at me. It gnawed at me like a hunger that could never be satisfied. I drove. The miles blurred by, and soon I found myself parked outside of a small cafe by the ocean. It wasn't a place I had ever been before, but for some reason, I felt like I needed to be there. The waves crashed against the shore, the rhythmic sound of the ocean somewhat soothing, but the storm inside of me was still raging. My mind wandered back to the church, to the altar, to the wedding that wasn't. I couldn't believe I had walked away. I should have stayed, should have fought for us, but I couldn't. I didn't know how to share her, how to accept that a part of her heart was still reserved for someone else. It wasn't just the physical space she was asking me to make for Adam, it was the emotional space, the space in her heart. And that was something I couldn't tolerate. A part of me was angry, furious even, but there was another part of me that was heartbroken that the woman I had planned to spend the rest of my life with still couldn't see how much this hurt me. She had never asked me to accept Adam, never asked me to let him into our lives, not in this way. But now, on the day we were supposed to begin our new life together, she had. A car door slammed nearby, pulling me from my thoughts. I turned and saw a couple walking toward the cafe. Their laughter echoed in the air, carefree and light. It reminded me of what I had lost, what I was still losing. I leaned my head against the steering wheel, exhausted. The weight of the decision, of the choice I had made, crashed over me. Had I done the right thing by walking away? Should I have stayed, fought for her, and tried to make her see my point of view? The thought of her sitting next to Adam, exchanging pleasantries and sharing glances during our wedding was unbearable. She had told me she loved me, that I was her future. But in that moment, I didn't feel like her future. I felt like an afterthought, a consolation prize. And Adam? He was still a ghost haunting our relationship. He was her past. And no matter how much she loved me now, no matter how many promises she made, I couldn't shake the feeling that part of her would always belong to him. The hours passed in a blur. The sun dipped lower in the sky, the orange hue of the setting sun painting the ocean in golds and reds. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I could ever go back to the life I had been living. I didn't know if I could face Emma after what had happened, after the hurt I had felt and the anger that still churned inside me. I glanced at my phone, but there were no new messages. I felt a pang of disappointment. I had expected her to reach out, to apologize, to explain herself in some way. But there was nothing. Silence. A sudden knock on the window startled me. I turned my head to find an older man standing outside the car, a concerned look on his face. I rolled down the window slowly. "Are you okay, son?" he asked, his voice soft but firm. I looked at him, unsure of how to answer. He looked like a man who had lived a full life, someone who had seen it all. And for some reason, I felt like I could confide in him. "I don't know," I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. I don't know anymore." He nodded, as if he understood more than I could explain. "You know, I've been married for over 30 years, he said, sitting down on the edge of the car door. "And in all that time, I've learned one thing above all else. You can't force someone to love you. You can't make them choose you. They have to do it on their own." I blinked at him, unsure of where he was going with this. "Marriage is a choice," he continued, his eyes steady. "It's not about who they've been with before or who they might still care about. It's about who they choose to be with now and every day after. Sometimes that means making hard decisions. Sometimes it means letting go." I felt a lump form in my throat, but I didn't know what to say. "I'm not telling you what to do, son," the man said, standing up. "But sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away. Not out of anger, not out of pride, but because you know deep down that it's the only way you'll ever be able to move forward." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving me with nothing but the sound of the ocean and the echo of his words. I sat there for a long time, processing everything, before finally deciding it was time to leave the past behind and face the future.